What's up, y'all? I'm Ephraim, that ancient artist, your host here for Legions of Artists Project with Escondido Arts Partnership, of course. The Legions of Artists Project is about making an impact through artists' voices and sharing their craft, their challenges, their wisdom, and, of course, their truth. Okay, so Brennan's your name, but you go by BadCymphony.
Yes.
I love that. So thank you so much for being, participating in Legions of Artists Project with Escondido Arts Partnership. I'm super grateful to have you on this podcast show. So I'm going to go right into some questions for you. Are you ready for it?
Ready.
Okay, let's go. Okay, so my first question is, what inspired you to pursue your craft?
Ooh, so many things. If I want to try to dumb it down.
Don't dumb it down. Just, speak, baby. Speak your truth, okay?
My family's been involved in music in so many different ways that I realize it's like woven into my DNA at this point.
Okay.
Like,
I love that.
my papa was actually a recording artist, and he was part of like a barbershop quartet. And so they had like a community thing because they were singing in like local areas, but they had made it all the way up to the radio. So that was like an accomplishment in their own regard. I mean, especially since we're talking like 60s, 70s.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so it was like back
Big
when
deal.
radio was still incredibly hard to get on.
Yeah.
And it was more like, if you know a promoter, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I digress. I've come to find out that my oldest brother, and then several of my cousins, they had a rap group in 2006, and they were doing so many different projects. Then I started doing music when I was 12.
Okay, same age as me. That's when I
There
literally
you go.
started doing music.
I do look at some of the negative experiences, and it's not that I'm only articulating them in a negative fashion. It's more like I accept them as they were. Maybe my grandpa could have been more supportive to members of the family, but it also lets me know that this is how grown men preserve their own personal feelings. And, whether you think of it in a healthy or an unhealthy way, there has to be a way of going about to preserve your feelings. And that's what my grandpa did. If I accept that as it is, there are negatives that come with it, but also positives.
Yeah.
So I can try to, re-articulate that in my own life some way, but also, it's a story to share with our future.
Yes. No, and that's super beautiful because I remember you explaining, like, maybe that's how he was taught too, right?
Yes.
It's something
that's what I'm
that
saying. He's a
we
product of his
forget.
environment. Born during the Great Depression era, I don't exactly, that's one of the things. It's kind of like, I'm not making excuses for him because I don't know what life he lived, but I also understand that it had to be something that developed that within him because, what was it, 1938 when the Great Depression started, that era?
Okay.
And it was, I want to say, going on roughly around 16, 15, 17 years because it affected our country, and so many people had to be in new jobs, especially the women in the workplace, and men were expected to be out at sea or out at war. And my grandpa would have probably been around the age to, see a father figure or, some other father figure, if not his own father, going to war or, supposedly not having a reason to be here at home.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you're of age. Were you not drafted? What's going on?
No, and that's a crazy thing to, really speak on too, because it's like how we're living today is not how they were living back then. It's a totally drastic, change. And so that's what you also have to think of. People, are the way they are in a sense because of how they were raised and how the era was, or how history was back then. It was a totally different, energy, just dynamic within life. It's just kind of like looking at our ancestors, right? That didn't have cars, that didn't have, electricity, right?
Yeah.
It's a totally different era, and we're very blessed and fortunate that we are able to live in this kind of world today and kind of just thank our ancestors to like recognize that, okay, we didn't get to experience what they experienced, but we get to experience more because they paved the way.
Yeah.
Even growing up with my family, like I can like remember some of like the oldies that I would listen to, but you tell somebody else about them being oldies and they're like, oh no, like you need it, because like a lot of the music I grew up on was like ABBA and like the Beach Boys.
Okay.
But it's so funny how it's like how we have this perception on what the oldies is.
Okay, yeah.
Or
yeah.
the different music genres we grew up to. Because even like rap, I was not even allowed to listen to that growing up. So
I can
it's
easily imagine, because I imagine the way that your family might have thought about rap would have probably been akin to the way that my family listened to rap. And that was like my brothers, my sister, and they were listening to like Mac Dre, E40, Too Short, classic local stuff. But at the same time, you recognize Too Short identifies himself as a pimp. Mac Dre not only said he was a pimp, he was the pimp and the prostitute. He said he had dick so good he was charging by the minute. There was a point in time.
That's so funny, because like that, my family was the opposite, right?
Yes.
So it's crazy to think about all that.
I agree, because my parents loved the old stuff, and they would say, I don't like all of that new hip hop rap stuff. It's too much cursing and too many bitches and too many hoes. And it's like, for the most part, they weren't exactly right, because there was so much of it that didn't have that. But my family, like my brother and my sisters, my brothers and my sister, they loved Bay Area stuff, so it did have a lot of the bitches and the hoes.
Yeah, so it's like the different dynamics of it.
To the point where I couldn't tell my mom that when I was 12, I thought I was going to grow up to be Mac Dre. And it's like, well, what does Mac Dre do exactly? It's like, well, now that you ask, Mom, he's a part of this big movement in the music industry. It's called Fizz. What's that about? It's about the music.
Yeah. No, for real. It's crazy to think about. And at the same time, like, it's just like one of those things where it's just like, it's how do I say it? It's like super, it's a way of really understanding people and society and the different generations and how they've like really perceived.
Yes. Because that's what it really sits with, the generations and how we have our perceptions. Like when my parents said oldies, they were talking about like Al Green,
the name. Yeah, that's the other thing. The names.
Somebody who was like, somebody could ask me like, oh, you know about the oldies, and then like play a bunch of stuff that I would not necessarily recognize the artist for, and I'd be like, oh, bro, that's old school. Parents used to play that all the time. It's like, I might not know the artist. I can tell you more about the recording label or about the group as opposed to the single individual artist. Is like,
it's wild. No, and I love that, because it's so real. I'm the same way. Like, even a song, like you play a song, I know that song, but I may not know the artist. I may not know anything about the production or anything.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, I recognize songs from a band called Rufus, and that had Shaka Khan in it and whatnot. And it's like, I recognize Shaka Khan's like solo stuff too. But it's like, somebody could have asked me like 4 or 5 years ago, you don't know nothing about the oldies. What you know about Rufus? It's like, I guarantee you I heard their records. It's like, you don't know none of their songs. It's like, I don't even know if I know what band you're talking about, but I know I heard some of their music before.
Well, and then they assume that you do know certain things, or you're supposed to know just because of your culture too.
Yeah.
That was another thing. Like, people would be like, oh, you don't know this and you're black? I was like, well, you don't know my story. This is why I probably don't know it. It's not that I don't want to know it. But even now today, my taste in music, right? My taste in music is more, pop and punk rock. And people are like super shocked because they even have a perception of that kind of genre and think I'm going to listen to more black artists. When actually initially I listen to just like any artist, and I don't look at them as their color. I just love the music that they create.
That's true too. And then you can even take it a step further and say, technically there's influence from black creators in all genres, because there was influence, actually like direct correlation to the invention of rock and roll, blues, jazz, like you name it. Black people have had their foot in, curating and helping develop sounds. Like some of the genres and music that we actually listen to today are more or less directly developed from the roots of our African culture, the drum patterns, the drum cadences. And so I think that's interesting to look at, because sometimes we get fixated on perception, how it's perceived here in America, like how it's perceived today,
exactly,
versus if we had the historical and cultural knowledge, we could trace it back to like hundreds of years ago. Like,
yeah, no, and I love that you say that because that's so true. A lot of people don't realize that. It's a lot of it, connects back to, culture, our ancestors, and that's what's so powerful. Thank you again for being here and just sharing your insight, your knowledge, your wisdom, and I appreciate you so much. So
it was a pleasure talking with you, and
yeah,
it was a lot of fun.
Okay, good.